Hello students, in previous lecture we have seen what are the head loves, what is the systematic position, what is the morphology of head loves, and what is the feeding mechanism. In today's lecture we will start with the life cycle of head loves, and then we will see the other parts of it. So in life cycle, the first thing, the life cycle is divided into three stages: egg, nymph and adult. So these head loves, these are insects, and these insects have an incomplete life cycle. So there are two types of life cycles: complete and incomplete life cycle. Incomplete life cycle, you see the four stages within the life cycle: egg, then you have larva, pupa and the adult. Whereas here in this particular head loves, we will see incomplete life cycle, which consists of three stages, that is the egg, nymph and adult. Now what is the nymph and what is the adult? What is the difference between them? Now nymph is the exact copy of the adult. The only the main differences between the nymph and adult is the nymph have first of all small in size. Second thing, they go through several moltings to become adult. They don't have reproductive organs, and their color many times are less brighter, or you can say very light colored as compared to the dark colored adults in many of the species, especially in this part. Now how this whole steps takes place? So first of all, the copulation takes place. So male and female lies ready for the activity within 3 days of attaining adulthood, within the 3 days. As we have seen the life cycle, only 1 month they are their short lifespan, 1 month lifespan is there. So within the 1 month they have to complete this part. So 3 days of attaining adulthood is there. Mating occurs on the body of the host at frequent interval, and this may be related to the absence of seminal receptacle in the female and presence of seminal vesicles in the male. Okay, single male can fertilize at least 10 to 18 female. So copulation begins with the male loves crawling underneath the female from behind. Then the tips of their abdomen unite and female rises to the vertical position, lifting the male with her. The two animals then return to the horizontal position and remain in the copula for 30 minutes. Okay, for few hours, 30 minutes to few hours. Transfer of sperm is effected during this period. So if the position is less than that, 30 minutes or 1 hour, if it is 10 minutes, 20 minutes, so the transfer of sperm doesn't takes place. So it is necessary that a proper copulation should take place. It will remain there in this position for 30 minutes or more than 30 minutes, up to 1 hour, 2 hours or few hours. It may vary depending upon the species also. Okay, so if you look at the life cycle, the first thing is starting with the copulation, then oviposition. So in the diagram, as you can see, eggs is deposited, then you have different stages of nymph one, then when the egg diasis takes place, so nymph 1, 2 and 3, and then you have adult formation. Okay, so after this copulation, the oviposition takes place. So female body lays up to 300 eggs at the rate of 8 to 12 eggs per day during her life of about a month. Remember, so 8 to 12 days, 1 mark questions can be asked on this, remember. So eggs are colloquially termed nits. Very important, eggs are termed as nits. Okay, the productivity of female head loves is lesser. She deposits 8 to 100 eggs in all. Eggs are termed as nits. Now these are the oval, whitish and thinly shelled object. As you can see, oval eggs. Okay, what is this size? 0.8 to 1 mm, 0.3 to 3 mm in size. Okay, they are oviposited at one at a time, either scattered and unattached or cemented to the hair or fibers of clothing worn by the host. Look at this cementing. Okay, cementing so that eggs will remain there for a longer duration. Okay, now this cementing, actually what is this cementing? The female headlouse glues the eggs to their hair shafts, okay, by a cement substance produced by the accessory gland. Remember, so they produce this particular cement substance to the produced by the accessory glands. Okay, so egg of the body louse are slightly larger, and these are stuck to fibers of clothing, especially along the seams. Okay, so at the narrow posterior end of the egg, 15 present at the stigma, which assist attachment, and the broader interior end is provided with the operculum. Remember, so if you look at the egg, posterior end of the egg, stigma is present, 15 stigma is present, and operculum is also present on the egg. Okay, so in the diagram, as you can see, now what is the stigma? Actually, the narrow posterior end of egg presents a stigma which assists the attachment, remember, while a broader interior is operculum. Now, lead is pierced by 5 to 24 micropylar canals. Okay, so look at this diagram. Now, how the hatching takes place. So, under optimum condition, ambient temperature of 30 degrees Celsius and moderate humidity, eggs hatch in 8 to 9 days. Okay, more, the incubation period is 5 to 20 days. Remember, now during the hatching, young louse enclosed in the eggshell sucks the air. Now look at this, what they do here during the hatching, how to open the operculum, how to open it. So what they do, they enclose the eggshell, sucks the air by the mouth and release through the anus, and due to this continuous process, what happens, gradually builds up sufficient air pressure within the egg so that operculum breaks off. So operculum is closed and it has to be open up. Now they don't have a chewing direct mouth part to open up the operculum. What they have to do is to create a pressure inside. As you know, within the egg they can respire. So air entry is there within the egg. So what they do, they continuously take up the air, and at the same time they continuously remove the air from the body through the anus region. So what happens here, they continue, by doing this continuously, they are creating the pressure and this breaks off the head. So this is how the operculum breaks off. In the head of the enclosed louse are present 5 pairs of sharp cephalic blades. Okay, so this is how the operculum breaks off and they come out. Now they have these cephalic blades which remove the extra embryonic membranes, after which the nymphs comes out of the eggshell. Okay. Now the hatched louse, now how the development takes place, look at this. Hatched louse is a miniature replica, as I have told you that they are exactly like the adults, only thing is their size is very small. Okay, so first stage nymph, as it doesn't have the reproductive system or gonads, then 3 jointed antenna is there. So when nymph 1 have 3 jointed antennas, whereas adult have 5 jointed antennas, remember. Okay, 5 jointed means 5 segments are joined to each other. They doesn't have 5 antennas, remember, they have 5 jointed antenna. So hatched nymph must feed immediately. Okay, so if it is to survive, it will die within 24 hours if not allowed to suck blood, remember. So they should suck blood as soon as possible. They have to go to this towards the skin, use the piercing or mouth part and start feeding. Okay, if they don't feed, they will not be able to survive. So after feeding continuously for 3 days, then there will be first ecdysis. Ecdysis means what? The molting, or you can say the size of nymph increasing. As the size increases, the external or exoskeleton, which is made up of chitin, it breaks and a new layer formation takes place. So this is how the growth of insects takes place. So this is what we call it as ecdysis. Again it feeds for 5 to 6 days and then again molts. So there is a continuous feeding and molding, and again it goes towards the third nymph. Okay, after, so first day 3 days of feeding, then there will be molting, then you have a 5 to 6 days of feeding, there will be molting, and in third stage 8 to 9 days of feeding and there will be molting. So adult loves again sexual maturity within 1 to 3 days and the life cycle is repeated. So after the third molting, they get the sexual maturity. Now this type of gradual development in which young stages closely resemble the adult, okay, are is known as hemimetamorphosis. Okay, so total period of egg to adult transform into 18 days, but may extend to 30 days if the feeding is less or the temperature variation takes place, temperature is low, then the average lifespan, okay, so if the variations are there, then there is a possibility that it may delay for the development. Okay, the average lifespan of female is about 3 to 40 days or sometimes up to the 3 months. Male is having somewhat less lifespan. So after the development, how the transmission takes place. Now as you can see, lice remain on their host for food, warmth and shelter. They are capable of very active movements, and experiments have shown that they can move at the rate 23 centimeter per minute, okay, which is a very fast speed. Lice can get transferred from one host to another very fast. Slightest body contact is also responsible, as I have told you that when children play and their head comes in contact with each other, or if when the families are sleeping together, okay, in say on same bed, for example, children sleep together, so at that time this transmission may occur very fast. Okay, in similar way the footpath dwellers, for example beggars or destitutes, vagrants are there, when they don't maintain the personal hygiene, at that time also there is a possibility that the lice may be present on the body, and the people who will come in contact with them, the lice get transferred to those people. Okay, so what are the adaptations for the parasitic life? As I have already told you that flattened body, dorsoventrally flattened animal is there. Legs are adapted for grasping purpose so that they can hold the hair tightly. Mouth parts are piercing and sucking type. Saliva contain anticoagulant and an irritant. Okay, so that they can take the feeding properly. Absence of crop may be related to small blood meals which are taken frequent intervals are there. Louse is the fluid feeder. So gizzard is superfluous and absent. See, gizzard is required for what? The churning of the food, but this gizzard is not observed, or if it is observed, it is very superfluous. Reason is louse is a fluid feeder. Louse doesn't eat anything solid, so gizzard is actually not present or not required. That's why this adaptation is not present. This is the kind of adaptation or modification you can say. Lice often glue their eggs with the cloth fiber so that host contact of emerging progeny is ensured, remember. And louse is especially active at the night, spend its entire life on the human body, and does not therefore need well developed eyes also. So even eyes are also not present properly. Now what effects actually happen on the host? Direct action on the skin, we already know. If lice is there on the head or on the skin, we scratch a lot. Okay, that is because of the irritation they may actually uh, form. So direct action on the skin cause when lice infect man. Okay, and effect can be indirect, related to the transmission of certain diseases. Okay, so as explained earlier, infestation with lice is most common on hygienic crowded condition. Okay, so itch is the allergic reaction. Itching actually takes place. This is the actual reaction in which not only the saliva but also the fecal excreta of louse are involved. As days pass, the skin erupts, become generalized, and the person may develop mild fever also, feeling tired of due to lack of sleep and irritability. This is an extreme case. Okay. Uh, the parasitic nymphs and adults pierce the skin of the human host, inject saliva and suck blood. So if in a previously exposed person, the bite of louse has practically no effect and usually goes unnoticed initially. But when the crawling of lice through hair and body surface produces a tickling sensation, actually, which is quite worrisome. So after about the week of louse infestation, the host becomes sensitized and suffer considerable irritation. This is what I am talking about. The itching or allergic reaction may happen. So the host may suffer the incense, continuous scratches all over the skin, abrasion of skin may happen, and that may lead to some kind of other infection also, maybe called the eczematous conditions. So the people accustomed to the pediculosis often become quite immune to lice over a long period of time. Lice infection, infected portion of their skin becomes swollen and darkened, and this is the term vagabond's disease, in which the careless or dirty people who don't take bath or keep themselves clean infected with head lice, and hair may become thickly matted also sometimes. Okay, so this is called as a pediculosis. Now lice may be responsible for transfer of some of the bacterial diseases. So its role is the biological vector transfer of many bacterial diseases. So lice are essential in the life cycle of these pathogens actually. The parasites multiply in the midgut epithelium of the lice and are voided with the fecal feces. And when bite, wound or abrased skin become contaminated by louse fecal, then these lice are crushed, pathogens enter the human body. Okay, lice usually leave the typhus patient when high fever develops and stack other healthy human. Also, what kind of vectors they transfer? Several pathogens, particularly during the World War, it has been observed that lice is responsible for so many diseases. So what kind of diseases? And many microorganisms killed the millions of soldiers during the World War due to diseases also. So the first one is the uh, rickettsia, okay, causing epidemic typhus. Typhus disease was caused by rickettsia. And R. quintana, okay, that is called as a trench fever. And the third pathogen which was responsible for a lot of problems was spirochete, that is Borrelia recurrentis, responsible for the disease relapsing fever. So out of these three diseases, rickettsia or typhus was having high mortality rate, and others are not having high mortality rate, but even though they were devastating for most of the infecting person. Okay, so as I have told you that lice usually leaves the typhus patient when high fever develops and attack other healthy human hosts. This occurs mainly when people live in the crowded condition. So rapidly spreading disease quickly assumes epidemic proportion, resulting in extensive mortality. Okay, so what are the treatment for how to stop these ticks? So during the head body, most of the time you can do dusting of head or body and clothes with DDT is highly effective. Keeping the good hygiene is one of the best things that you can do against the ticks. So if you always wash your head, wash your body, wash your clothes, and then the possibility reduces of the ticks. Okay, lice strains resistant to DDT has now been developed. DDT is generally now is not used. Okay, other many things have been developed. So there is a Linden and Chlordane lotion is there. Lysol is also common and effective agent. Okay, deleting agent. Formulation of these chemicals should apply at the night and washed off the next day. Treatment is repeated up to 7 to 10 days. Remember, prevention and control. All places human loss occurs commonly. Periodically application of any above chemical is excellent prophylactic measure to keep it lice away. So key prevention of infestation is called maintain the personal cleanliness, as I have told you, not using other person's combs, clothes, towels, and avoidance of all contacts with the persons who are very dirty. Okay, teaching the importance of personal and community hygiene is especially the children especially the children is crucial to prevention of the pediculosis. Okay, so the person living in crowded condition must be subjected to mass deluging program suitable for with a suitable insecticide. So there can be powder which can be used or sprinkled on the hair, headgear, body clothing, and even socks. Okay. Second approach is that bedding and clothing are frequently treated with methyl bromide fumigation. Remember, so methyl bromide fumigation is the part which is also useful. Okay, but as this is a methyl bromide fumigation, this can be somewhat toxic also. You have to keep the clothes as it is for a longer duration. So this was all about the formation or the life cycle and the prevention and control of the head lice. In next lecture we will start with the introduction to the tick, and then we will see the life cycle of tick and how their development takes place. Thank you.